In today's video, we're going to talk about how to extend a concrete slab, or how we did that over the weekend, and any tips that I have that might help you in case you want to do the same. This concrete slab now makes way more sense than before, and it's the beginning of an outdoor kitchen that I have in my mind. This is what the outdoor patio looked like before. We had a concrete slab that was very oddly sized and placed that we could only fit a table and a small grill. And we wanted to extend it so that it went all the way to the end of the house so that it made more sense, and we could possibly add a pergola or something more fun that we could enjoy for years to come. So I'm going to probably take some chalk and start drawing up ideas of what I want to do with this space, because I see so much more potential. I'm looking forward to spending quality time with my husband and friends and family in this area. This is Chris, and we're grateful that we got his help because we would have not been able to do this without him. Step number one is organization and planning. So let's list out everything that you're going to need for this project. You're going to need concrete mix, and in our case, we use 60-pound Quikrete bags, water, 2x4 so you can create your outer form, some shovels, a heavy-duty steel stamper, a level, some wooden stakes, string, measuring tape, a trowel, some wire mesh, a concrete mixer. We used a gas-powered one to make our life easier, a wheelbarrow, a concrete brush, some helpers, and clothes you can really get down and dirty with. It'll also be really helpful to have something to clean your hands with. This is muriatic acid. In part one of this video series, I actually mentioned that homedepot.com has project calculators for different types of projects. So if you go to the concrete calculator and you hit learn more, it'll actually take you to a section where you can input your measurements. You put in exactly the size of your project, and it will actually tell you the materials that you will need and how much of it, depending on the size of concrete bags that you choose. And so this is one way that you can order your items. There's 3 ways to mix concrete: the old school way with a wheelbarrow and a shovel, but I think that's very time consuming. And notice the little ramp we built, though. That was very helpful, and I do suggest that. When I called the tool rental company, they also gave me the option of renting an electric mixer. And while that was a little bit cheaper, about $100 per day, I thought that paying the extra money was totally worth it for the gas mixer because it was going to save us time and energy. Calculating the pitch is going to be important because you don't want water to stay on the concrete.
Your pitch dictates basically which way you're casting the water. We don't want to cast the water towards the house because that's how you get foundation destruction, basically, or rot if you have wood or stuff like that. It's a 1/2 inch pitch. Cool thing about construction pencils, they're a 1/2 inch this way and a 1/4 inch that way. This was a little more than a 1/2 inch. That means we dropped 1/2 inch in 33 inches. If this is 66, that means we've dropped a full inch, and then what, 132 would be 2 inches. So you have a 2-inch drop from the edge of the house to this point right here. So I pulled a string at the high point of that slab so it would match. I put it here. Same thing on the front. And so when I did that, I had my high and my low point. Once you find your low point and your high point, I pulled a string from there. I went to my mark here. That's my pitch. I put a 2x4 with a rack on it and pull the string. It gives me a point there, and it's right on top of the concrete. That way I can find my level line that way. But you always want to find a good reference point. So if you were starting over here, if you were starting at the door, that would be the hardest way to do that. You have to make a constant. So you would start actually on the side and make your pitch, and then match everything else because the front and the back are level. So now you can grab your shovels and start digging out. 3 inches is perfect for outdoor. 4 to 6 is what you put cars on. At 2 inches, it starts cracking. when you dig, you want to start on the outside. And later on, we're going to pull strings and get our corners. Pull from the corners, that way we can find our middle. Right now, so we don't trip over everything, we'll just have the outsides.
So we started digging from the outside in, and then you'll also see me stamping on the concrete. You want to do this because you want to get rid of any of the air that's underneath so that it doesn't end up cracking. 3 to 4 inches is perfectly fine for this particular setting. So we kept digging and stamping and making sure that everything was level and ready to go for concrete laying day.
Your form is the most important part. We ranged it off the old one. We followed the old concrete, level with the existing concrete so it matches.
And Chris secured the form.
So this will be your footer for your pergola. Whenever y'all do it, we're just pre-planning for it. So this will just be concrete that will go down deeper than the 3 inches we're aiming for. And that way we can put a post pad anywhere in this area, and we can put a post going up. Later on, we'll be able to drill, put a tapcon in, anchor a basket, and put your post in.
We ordered 5 of these 42 by 84 inch remesh sheets. These are used so that you can stabilize the concrete and that way it doesn't crack. At first, I thought that you just laid those mesh down and then that you put the concrete right on top, but then I learned that you actually wiggle them up to the middle point so that it really protects the concrete. Chris had predicted that it would take about 6 hours for the entire project, and he was right.
Just dump it right there.
Spray it up at the top
Yeah, or
so it doesn't get stuck on there?
yeah, it kind of keeps the water behind the concrete.
Okay. Chris has done this so many times that he was able to eyeball leveling and smoothing the concrete. But I have also seen where people use the 2x4s to be able to make sure the concrete is flush and that it's level, and then use your trowel to make sure that it's smooth. Then he left a little area that he could finish up from the outside of the frame. And then he worked on details. He then went back and finished that small space that was left. And I didn't record him, but he also created some lines using the concrete brush to get some grip. And then it was time to clean up and get everything ready to take back to the rental place. It takes about 24 hours for the concrete to set. So if you know it's going to rain within that time frame, you may want to put a tarp on it.
So each one of these that are attached to the wood have 2 screws in them. They're about a foot to the ground. You can kind of tell in the shingles, and we saw at the beginning, there it looked like there was washout right here. The issue with washout is it can, and most likely will, because water is the strongest force on Earth. Look at the Grand Canyon.
Yes, that's true.
Eventually, if we didn't do anything, water would get underneath this and start washing it out. And then, eventually, this would start to crack. And because we didn't tie it into the house, that would probably crack too. And you just have this whole part pretty much just gone.
Okay.
And it would eventually work down, it'd look ugly. So we could take, which still thinking about doing because we have the extra concrete, just a curved little piece and build another slab about right here.
And then maybe some landscape, like plants.
Yes, plants, roots, anything to hold the dirt there.
And so people, when they do this, they have to think about
Where's the
water coming. There's going to be a lot of considerations. I think right there where the water source is, there would be a lovely spot for a sink. But if you have any ideas for me as I am planning my design and I am sharing my ideas with you, I would love to hear what those are.
The thoughts of this project is eventually putting a pergola and a structure or some sort on this. I suggested we go ahead and start with that, maybe after the other bit of concrete right here, because that's your largest concern. But if you did an L, cabinets or anything, this corner right here is going to have to be cut into whatever you put in next. And so that is the reason why I would start with this.
This is the result of that concrete pad extension. We now have more space, even for that table and that grill. This isn't where we're going to end the project. This is just the beginning. And as I always say, remember that you can create bliss at home and in the garden. See you next time.